We're in a share battle this month against Giants Now. These are the numbers going into Monday, so through Monday here. 492 shares for the Giants, 880 for the Cowboys Report. Let's crush them. Help us out. Put today's video out there on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, text it to a friend, whatever. Any and all share helps us here on the Cowboys Report. Want to talk trade a little bit on today's show. I know there's been plenty of social media conversation about trading for a running back, hoping to go get one. There were some interesting comments made by Jaden Blue, or about Jaden Blue, which is also about Mazi Smith, but like being consistent. Like if they don't trust Jaden Blue, boy, it's tough to trust Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams there. I think for the most part, the Week 1 results probably weren't beneficial to you. Some names we have discussed, been asked about on a decently regular basis about potential trade targets. Breece Hall, the Jets. Jonathan Taylor, the Colts. Travis Etienne, the Jags. The good players, the maybe not so good players. The Dameon Pierce, Antonio Gibson, Jerome Ford. What did Week 1 bring us? Can you find a team that is willing to trade somebody who's not as good, etc.? Well, the Colts won. Jonathan Taylor was good as he always is. There had been questions like, is Breece Hall going to be the lead back with New York? Well, he clearly was for a team that almost and probably should have beat the Steelers. He went from 19 for 107. Braylon Allen had a touchdown. He also had 6 carries for 9 yards. So, was he actually good? And then Travis Etienne cooked. He looked awesome for Jacksonville. Looked like the best version of himself. Tank Bigsby was just 5 of 12. Tootin was 3 of 11. Especially Hall and Etienne, who had been like potential trade candidate guys. Well, if they're going to be the lead backs and not get traded and their teams either win, Jacksonville, almost win the Jets, it's not good. Now, you could trade for one of those guys still. Like, you have 2 first-round picks. You can make them not say no to you. But, that point, if they're contenders, it's going to be a massive overpay. And that's not what we want. You want to find the value. You don't want to wildly overpay for a 1-year rental of a Breece Hall or Travis. That's not the goal of this, right? The other 3 backs, Ford, Gibson, Pierce, I bet they're available for the right price, but they were bad. They didn't do anything. And then it kind of becomes like, okay, if the not good backs are available, do they actually make you any better? Like, do those guys help you? I'm not so sure. That's why you're in that kind of awkward situation where you don't know what you're actually going to be able to get. One player who we'll get to here in a second might make some more sense. But do you want the Cowboys to trade for a running back? This will be the pinned comment on today's video, so go vote at that spot in the comment section. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Overall, I thought Javonte Williams did some pretty good stuff against a pretty damn good Eagles defense. The 60% success rate matters more than the yards per carry. There was a bunch of short yardage stuff he converted on. That's fine. He had 2 touchdowns of what? A yard combined, 2 yards combined. All of a sudden, your numbers look way better if you're not, if you're just focusing on the success rate. The Miles Sanders fumble was bad, though. That hurts you. The one name that I do want to mention here more in depth is Kenneth Walker III. It certainly seems like he has fallen behind Zach Charbonnet on the Seahawks depth chart. That he is the one who has taken over the lead back duties in maybe a way that not many of us expected. The Week 1 snap counts. Charbonnet had 30. Walker had 21. That is still a committee. I do want to emphasize that because Seattle doesn't have great depth behind Charbonnet, so they might prefer to keep their own committee, again, unless you're trying to just overpay, which I do want to mention that. The stats for Week 1 then, Kenneth Murray was 10 carries, 20 yards. He was bad. Charbonnet, 12 carries, 47 yards. That's actually pretty solid. Had a touchdown run as well, but it just wasn't that great. And I think Kenneth Walker, this is probably going to be more of a trade deadline situation if they end up moving him. It would probably be closer to the trade deadline because he's gone the wrong way. His efficiency has actually dropped each of the past 3 years. He was at 4.6 in 2022. He was at 4.1 last year, down to 3.7 in 2024. Sorry, 4.1 in 2023. Can he get back to form? with the guy I saw last year and to begin this game wasn't actually that impactful. And outside of touchdowns kind of saving his fantasy stock, might not be what you're actually aiming for in the backfield. That's why I think this spot it's not as easy said as done to get help, because you're in September and there aren't as many players available, straight up. Today's show is made possible by Ethos. As a father with one kid and a second one on the way, trust me when I say life insurance matters. It's not fun to think about what would happen if something happened to you, but you need to be prepared. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Ethos is a trustworthy company that disrupts the traditional life insurance industry, and it's more affordable than you might think. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There is no complicated process, and it's 100% online. No medical exam is required. You just answer a few health questions and get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. 3 million families have completed their applications and trusted Ethos to help find the right coverage. So protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. Appreciate Ethos sponsoring us here on the Cowboys Report. Head to a name I know many of you would like to find a way to trade. Mazi Smith. Bleacher Report listing him as their number 3 trade candidate. He was made a healthy scratch in week 1. Brian Schottenheimer, as we've discussed, making some comments about the consistency, which certainly should kind of like send off alarm bells. Like, okay, does that mean you're practicing well, doing the things outside of the games you need to do? Some of the fits that were mentioned by Bleacher Report, frankly, neither of which I like. The Chiefs, who made the trade for Derek Nandi. The Jets, who traded Nandi, but then had previously made a trade for Harrison Phillips. I don't know if either of those teams are the best fit. I'm not going to say no if they come calling. I do wonder if the team we just mentioned, the Seahawks, actually makes some sense. Could they be a team that is in the market for a defensive tackle? Jonathan Hankins is old and banged up. Bohanna's been getting caught up from the practice squad. They have a tie to the organization with Adam Dirty as the defensive coordinator, who was Mazi's D-line coach. That is something that, also Mike McDonald, Michigan, Seattle. There's a lot of ties there that would make it make some sense. Here's what Brian Schottenheimer said about Mazi Smith. I had a great conversation with Mazi just about the consistency. Mazi's going to play a lot of really good football. He's not even begun to reach his peak, but his consistency has not been there. And therefore, if your philosophy is to compete every day, that's what you have to do. Make those decisions. Look, Brian's trying to back his guy. I appreciate that. That sends off red flags and alarm bells for me. Like, you're talking about he's not competing every day. That's basically what he said, right? That's a huge red flag for me. You're in year 3 in a make or break year. You're fighting for your football life and you're not competing, right? What if he's a scratch in week 2? Then we are rapidly approaching the Taco Charlton path, and I don't like that. So what would you do with Mazi Smith? T for trade him, K for you'd keep him. Hope that things get figured out. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. T for trade, K for keep. What's the trade value? Also a very good question on Mazi Smith. Bleacher Report listed that as a 2026 fifth rounder. And frankly, I take it right now. I feel bad saying this. I don't want to write off Mazi, but he hasn't picked up the pen to write back yet. So, what am I doing here? I frankly think that's on the high side. I think a day 3 pick swap, the Sky Moore trade, the Kaiir Elam trade at best is probably a little bit closer to what you're going to end up getting for Mazi Smith. He can't beat out Jay Toia right now. Now, maybe that changes in week 2. Hope it does, frankly, because that means he had a good week of practice. But I saw progress in year 2. The Giants game, he looked so good. And then it's just like he hasn't taken a step forward. Like the offseason, for as good as it was for Tyler Guyton, just kind of concerned it wasn't the case for Mazi Smith. And when the Cowboys do actions like making him a healthy scratch, that concerns me. The contract, I do want to mention this here real quick as well. Cowboys would save 1.96 with a trade. It also gets them out of the cash owed, even more importantly. There's some signing bonus that they've already paid. The savings are probably more cash-focused than cap-focused, but that'd be a win for the Cowboys if they really are truly done with him. 223,000 subscribers is the next goal here on the Cowboys Report. Help us get there. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button instead. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Multiple videos each and every single day right here on the channel. Let's go to a Jaylen Tolbert trade. Our friends over at Fansided, frenemies sometimes, said, hey, maybe the Cowboys should trade Jaylen Tolbert to the Chiefs following the Xavier Worthy injury. I do actually kind of appreciate the logic here of like taking advantage of other injuries elsewhere. Rashee Rice is suspended for the first part of the season. Xavier Worthy's going to miss some time. He's week to week. Jalen Royals is banged up. They're out there playing Marquise Brown, Tyquan Thornton, who is just like, he's fast, is kind of like his entire game and not a whole lot else there. Made some nice plays at least. Juju Smith-Schuster keeps contributing. Brownlee and Remigio are like special teamers. It's like, I get making a call about it. I do. It does leave you thin at wide receiver. You've got 4 guys in the practice squad, though. So, like, you're actually, I think, okay on that side. Like, I don't think it'd be a nightmare necessarily. Tolbert didn't do much against the Eagles. I think the most noteworthy play from Jalen Tolbert was the block. Now, I don't know if he looked like he was almost confused on the play. Like, Turpin's in the flat. Everyone else runs downfield. Is he supposed to be a distraction? He's supposed to throw a block. It just didn't look right. Not sure he ran the right route on the first lamb drop because he's right in the same area where there shouldn't be. Like, is he struggling with the details? Because if you don't do the details right in any offense, you're going to have issues there. But he was productive in 2024. We will at least always have the idea or the moment of the Steelers touchdown catch. We'll always have that. I will always, appreciate that from Jalen Tolbert. But if I can get my team better, okay, then I consider it. Can I get a linebacker? Can I get a running back? I don't know if you can, but I would keep it under consideration. So would you trade away Jalen Tolbert? Be honest with me. Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Would you trade away Jalen Tolbert? I am not opposed to the idea of shipping out Jalen Tolbert. You have some depth at wide receiver, even if it's mostly on the practice squad. You have your top guys. I do want something back that matters, though. I don't want to just send him off for a day 3 pick swap or something like that. I think there actually is benefits to him being on your roster as a backup at essentially all 3 spots and, in theory, blocking better, if not blocking better in week 1, frankly, and being able to contribute as a special teamer. I think that stuff does matter. And I do wonder if once Mingo gets back and if Mingo can be a part of the offensive wide receiver rotation, which we don't know if he can, is worth mentioning, then that would kind of help sideline Jalen Tolbert a little bit. And you could go with an extra receiver. And Mingo is back on the roster, and you free up a spot that way by trading away Tolbert. That is something you should consider. I'm also curious what ends up happening with Ryan Flanoy. He's got more athletic juice than Tolbert. He's clearly behind him in the pecking order. I don't know when he gets a shot, but I think if everyone stays healthy in front of Tolbert, it'd be okay. Requires you to stay healthy in front of him. We might change our minds in a week or two if there's a bad injury, knock on wood, but this is what smart teams do. You at least consider the possibility.